child, horses explored and roamed wide open spaces as part of a herd. Once stabled, however, these natural equine behaviours were curtailed and the horses developed repetitive behaviours or stereotypes, like for example so-called box walking or weaving to cope. Joining me now is Ben Mays, equine vet surgeon and trustee of the Animal Welfare Foundation. So Ben, how common is this and why does it happen?
Adele, stereotypical behaviours are really common, and that's because modern management systems such as confining them in a stable or going out in small paddocks, perhaps with unfamiliar groups, is not really conducive to their natural behaviour. So as a result they develop these stereotypical behaviours, they try it, they enjoy it, that causes a release of endorphins in the brain, so it's a reward-based system, and as a result they do these behaviours more and more in an attempt to relieve their stress.
So are certain horses more susceptible to this type of behaviour?
One would think so. For example, dressage horses and race horses are kept in stables all the time and don't go out in fields, and one would think this would be more stressful. But however, sometimes just going out in a field, perhaps being picked on by others in the group, perhaps you're new to a group and they're not accepting you and you're forced to go in the other corner, or you're being beaten up, that can be stressful too. So all environments are stressful in some ways.
So what kind of behaviours are we talking about?
Well, there are classic stereotypical behaviours are split into two groups, locomotor and oral. Right. So locomotor means that they're moving, so that's weaving, where a horse stands in a stable and weaves from side to side. Yeah. Box walking, when they walk round and round the box and leave a track in the bedding because they're walking around all the time, they're locomotor. The oral ones, which are other classic ones, are crib biting, where they latch onto an edge, such as the stable door, and pull back and flex all their muscles like that. And wind sucking, which is almost like advanced crib biting, in that during that process they suck wind down. And eventually they get to the point where they actually ingest wind into their stomachs just by standing there and nodding their head.
So why are these behaviours a problem?
Well, the locomotor behaviours can lead to, so the weaving, for example, repeated stresses and strains, abnormal stresses and strains on the tendons and ligaments, which can lead to repetitive strain injury. The box walking, similarly, an overdevelopment of the wrong muscle groups. With the oral stereotypies, such as wind sucking and crib biting, for example, the crib biting, they actually wear down their incisor teeth and then actually find it difficult to graze. The incisor teeth's job is to pluck the short grass from their grazing, and they can't do that, so that also leads to condition loss. If you're a wind sucker, that 4 times increases your likelihood of developing colic, which is abdominal pain, and 4 times more likely to have surgical colic, which is quite serious. Similarly, the change in intake in food material and the intake of air can affect the acid in the stomach, which leads to gastric ulceration. So they're quite serious in that respect.
There are certain types of products available to buy. Should these be considered?
I would never recommend products that actually prevent or punish horses for doing these behaviours. For example, crib collars which are tied tightly around a horse's neck to prevent them from wind sucking, or for example, crib paint that you put across the top of the door, bad tasting paint, and that stops the horse from doing it. For example, electric tape all the way around the stables and across the stable door to prevent the horse from doing it. These products then, because the horse can no longer relieve the stress by doing the stereotypical behaviour, increases the horse's stress in that instance. So I wouldn't recommend those products.
Right. So is there anything else you can do if your horse shows one of these types of behaviours?
So the key is the management systems. Right. So for example, horses should be turned out as much as possible. Outside, they're stimulated, they're getting movement and exercise, and opportunities for social interaction with other horses.
More natural solutions.
Absolutely,
yeah.
so
okay.
That's good. However, if they go out in the wrong way, into a new group, into a big field, and they're not used to going out into big fields, then that can be stressful in itself. So choosing the moment and how you do it. The horses have to be in stables for certain reasons, if they're exercised and so on. So exercising is important, exercising your horse every day, so it gets stimulated in that way. Stimulating the horse within the stable, so putting your forage around different parts of the stable, so instead of box walking all the time, it can move from pile of forage to pile of forage. Using toys such as kickballs containing horse and pony nuts, for example, or dangling lick so they can have to interact to get the stimulation from the lick. You can stable them in groups, so not necessarily in a stable together because they kick each other and bite each other, but though they face each other from different stables and get a stimulus from social interaction and see what's going on in the yard. Or you can use other animals such as chickens or goats are a classic, or a donkey, or the old proverbial Shetland pony that's the companion to the racehorse. Having that sort of companionship can be a good stimulation as well.
Okay, thank you, Ben, for your time. If you would like more information on this topic, please visit the Animal Welfare Foundation website. Thank you.